So this video is on Sumtola. Sumtola comes originally from the wrestling practices of India and elsewhere. It's still used in Kushti and Indian wrestling and their weight training practices. Now obviously it's been copied and is now known as a Viper in kind of, I guess, normal gyms. But anyway, this is a traditional one. The ones that we use are made by Pete at Body Mind Fit, and they're excellent. Well, they're actually, I think they're made out in India. How do we use one? First of all, you can use it in a myriad of ways, but how do you want the training to be? So I always talk about there being training and training, okay? And you've got this kind of scale, and because of the martial arts practice, we think of the external and the internal applications of the training. For instance, if you thought of this as something, a tool to knock in a post, knocking in the post would be the external factor, where the motion that I'm generating within my body is the internal. And sometimes we'll want to focus on the external, sometimes we'll want to focus more on the internal. For instance, if we're carrying any kind of injury, our training wants to be far more the focus of the latter. Anyway, some of the movements that we can use with the Sumtola. First of all, you want to make sure that, if you're going to press it, that you've got good extension, okay? If you're used to pressing weights kind of here, it's not really the tool, okay? And in my practices, 30 years of being a personal trainer and strength coach, a lot of the time people don't really press that well when they first start training. So make sure that you've done all your basics, normally with dumbbells, etc., before you go on to something like this. The grip, we generally keep the hand neutral for a lot of the motions. However, there are times when you're going to flex and extend the wrist. Generally, we'll start with rotating exercises just to get that idea of rotation, same as you would do with a mace. With that, you can go into your lunges with a rotation either side, forwards and backwards. A big one are the halos, where we're drawing the Sumtola all the way around the body. So all the way around the head. Now often you'll see in practices, they may start out to the side and they'll draw around and come to the other side with a little bit of a hip hinge, or they'll draw around and then come down through the middle and then back around and down through the middle. That's also a couple of variations that you could try. With the presses, you've got pressing out, they're not particularly heavy, okay? So you can work on stabilising the body through that plane, through this plane. You can then work into triceps work in all these different presses. You can work on drawing up, turning and down, up, turning and down, and obviously you can add in your hip hinge to that. One point when you hip hinge, always think of driving the knees back rather than a knee bend like a squat. Apart from those basics, you've got to remember that this is normally used in conjunction with various press-ups, using clubs, using rope climbing. For the most part, you'll see it used the same as the Nal in terms of rotational work for the upper body. You can use a plate in the same way, and obviously you can go up with the weights of the plate far easier than you can with one of these. The way we tend to use it in here primarily is for various pressing exercises, and normally building up to 100 reps, be that 10 sets of 10 or whatever else. So for instance, we may use it for something like the Big Daddy drill when we do 10 reps for 10 sets. Or, as said before, I might hinge, up, over, hinge, 1, 2, 3, 10 reps, 10 sets. So it's more of a volume-based tool because it's fairly light. Hope that gives you a few ideas. If you do get one, work just, a few exercises, but do them well and get used to using the piece of equipment and trying to understand both the idea of the impact of the punch and how I throw the punch with all the exercises that you use. Hope that makes sense. Take care.